The last section I want to cover here, and it is going to be pretty quick, is navigation. And I think, we've kind of talked about this pretty effectively. Navigation is just not sufficient out of the box. So let's really zero in on this challenge of navigation.
Lead is a remote-first company based out of Canada.
What makes a world-class Microsoft 365 intranet and digital workplace?
I used the example earlier of Teams. Teams navigation is pitiful. It's really, really difficult at scale. Just play with it yourself. It's really obvious and intuitive. I want to talk a little bit more about the SharePoint side of this because sometimes we feel, I think, a little too confident that we have good navigation designs. And we built, we have multiple people who've won Nielsen Norman Awards. We've spent a lot of time. I've spent most of my career working in the digital hub or the intranet workspace. And I can tell you, customers, the number one usage of an intranet is navigation, and customers really fail to provide effective navigation tooling. So let's talk about what out-of-the-box provides and where it kind of falls down. One of the things that out-of-the-box navigation provides is mega menus. And now you could have a bunch of static links, and yeah, this could scale to maybe 50 even SharePoint sites or Microsoft Teams. You could actually create, a heading, and it's the most popular teams or the most popular sites, and you could create those links. And all the power to you if this is something that you want to do with the out-of-the-box navigation. There's even improvements to the navigation that are coming where the navigation is going to have like a left rail design. I'll talk about it in a little bit. That's a global nav, and you can use that as well, but it's going to have some other limitations. Let's talk about one of the problems with this sectional layout that Microsoft uses for the mega menu. The problem with this layout is if you have a lot of third level links, right? So think of it this way. If I show all the SharePoint sites that I wanted to, and I have them by department or something like that here, it becomes very problematic very quickly because you're going to have many, many third level links. And the sectional layout really just requires scrolling, literally has a scroll bar if you've ever added a lot of links, or has scrolling inside the nav, which is not an optimal experience. What you could do is you could build something custom. So this is a simple change where you build a custom navigation design, and this allows for way more density in third level links because it's a left rail aligned mega menu design. So you essentially go to marketing communications, and then I have potentially huge numbers of links and sites and spaces and whatever else that you want there. So in theory, you can get away with a certain amount of scale with static linking and concepts like this, but even that falls apart quickly. So I've mentioned static linking. And sorry, I have some other design examples here. Let's talk about dynamic linking. So Microsoft has other tools. You might say, well, I use SharePoint Home, and in SharePoint Home, I can see my recent sites, frequent, which is a popular and recent combination. So I can quickly navigate to sites I've been working in. And that's true. That's an amazing tool. It really helps people get back to where they were working. And following is also a really great way. Bookmarking, right? Collections and things like that, whether it's literally in the bookmarks of the browser or whether it's in things like following concept that's built into SharePoint. The problem here as well is that this is in the SharePoint Home experience. And yes, there's improvements coming. So I want to highlight one of them. In the near future, you'll have a new experience where you'll have a global navigation, and that global navigation is going to essentially give you the ability to not just have global nav, which by the way has its own limitations on the number of links, so it exacerbates the problem I mentioned earlier with design, but it also has frequent and followed and those kinds of concepts coming from your sites. So this is huge because what it means is we do have some dynamic navigation aids for common scenarios like the recent site I visited. And that's great. That works for Teams too. If you've ever been in Teams, there's this real sense of like pinning and showing versus hiding, right? So that works for small scale, the most active collections. But there's so many scenarios where we need to go beyond the 5 or 6 or however many items represent, what's pinned, what's shown and hide, what's in our frequent or followed collections. And this is where a directory experience is so pivotal. And this is also where a directory experience is quite easy because a directory experience is essentially that registry that I mentioned earlier. And I just wanted to highlight that those examples of improvements that Microsoft's providing are going to work in Teams as well, right? Just obviously with different UX designs and patterns. So again, there's more to discuss here, maybe on a separate discussion call. Hey everyone, thanks again for making the time today. If you're watching the recording or attending the live webinar, I will warn you, I tend to talk pretty fast and the content's going to be pretty dense. The slides are already up, available on SlideShare, but the recording and other material can be grabbed from the Orchestra website as a follow-up.